Good morning, everybody. It is March 25th and 8:11 a.m. Welcome to my channel. All right. So yesterday we gapped up and we held. Basically, had a kind of like uneventful move, but we just kind of like moseyed on up as the day went on. Had a little pullback, and then that got bought up, and then a little selling into the close. So we're battling the 200-day moving average in the SPY, but we're over that right now as we speak. So the QQQ hasn't reached that spot yet, but we'll see. We'll see. And today we're light in news, so it's all about continuation today, which because we were such in a big balance area and we're moving, this could just today fuel. Uh, if you didn't shake out all the shorts yesterday, you could possibly shake them out today. All right. So without further ado, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile, buying profile, define structure in the markets, along supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That's my edge. Is how I look at the markets. Good morning, Chief. Also use market internals. Okay. Also use market internals. So hopefully you guys join me every morning and I give you the story, the news, the leaders and laggards, economic calendar, and of course those long and short trade scenarios in the ES and the Nasdaq. Okay. All right. So why don't we just move on here? Move on to that watch list and see what's moving futures this morning. All right, top on the list today, we have silver. Silver's up 1.39%. Crude. Remember, I have that bull call spread in crude. That is in the money. Uh, so that definitely is brightening my day. So that's up. 10-year yield is up. ES is up 0.23, Dow's up 0.17, Nasdaq's up 0.17, gold up 0.15, Russell's down 0.18, dollar is down 0.20, 30-year bonds being sold down 0.43, Ether or Ethereum's down 1.20, Bitcoin's down 1.26, and the VIX is down to 17, down 1.49%. Moving on to the Max 7 Plus. Now Tesla was the most beaten down stock of this whole drop. It's getting the love now, even though the BYD, that China EV maker, has been really stealing market share, and I believe Tesla's dropping out of favor in Europe. But that doesn't matter. That stock was so beaten down, right? And I did take some a nibble on that dip. So we'll see what Tesla happens. Obviously, Tesla's just not auto; it's robotics, it's the other stuff, right? So they're all 1.44%. The Meta's up 0.83. Google's up 0.56. Boeing's up 0.40. All right. Is there laggards today? Broadcom down 0.08. Coinbase down 0.12. And Nvidia down 0.76. Nvidia really needs to get over 122 to really make some more noise, even though I had a nice day yesterday. Let's move on. Let's move on to the sectors, which really moves the markets. All right. So who's leading the pack? Energy, followed by discretionary. That's your Amazon, your Tesla, your Home Depot. Financials up 0.34. Technology up 0.13. Basic materials is up. Semis today is close to flat. Healthcare is close to flat. The really only laggers utilities, but that's barely down at all. 0.03 is nothing. 0.03 is nothing. Let's move on to the economic calendar here. Today, Fed Kugler speaking at 8:40 a.m. Let's see, S&P Case-Shiller home price at 9. Fed Williams at 9:05. So two Fed speakers before the market opens. Consumer confidence at 10 a.m. New home sales at 10 a.m. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and set that my alarm to be careful at 9:30. I mean, I'm sorry, at 10 a.m. because there's a bunch of news coming out. Who knows what will happen with that news? But I always want to be aware to stay away whenever I can. Okay, so set that alarm, and that's pretty much all we got for now. Let's look at some news. Tesla's February market share in Europe drops despite EV pickup. Tesla's market share in Europe continued to shrink year on year. In February, data showed as sales of all the electric car maker dropped for the second month despite rising EV registrations overall on the continent. Trump hit Trump to hit Venezuelan oil buyers with tariff, extend Chevron's wind down. U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday issued an executive order declaring that any country buying oil or gas from Venezuela will pay a 25% tariff on trades with the U.S., while his administration extended a deadline for U.S. producer Chevron to wind down operations in the South American country. Trump auto tariffs are coming, but not all levies will be imposed April 2nd. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday automobile tariffs are coming soon, even as he indicated that not all of his threatened levies would be imposed on April 2nd, and some countries may get breaks. A move Wall Street took as a sign of flexibility on a matter that has roiled the markets for weeks. All right. It says U.S. consumers slow spending as inflation bites. Synchrony says U.S. consumers are starting to curb their spending in response to high prices and worsening economic outlook, according to consumer finance company Synchrony Financial. Alrighty, let's see what else is going on here. Alright, it says BlackRock, the company, has launched its first Bitcoin exchange traded product in Europe in a bid to tap growing demand for cryptocurrency exposure in new markets. Let's see here. All right, let's see. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman Corp. The U.S. Navy is expected to announce this week who will build its next generation carrier based stealth fighter, a program worth hundreds of billions over its lifetime and a key part of plans to confront China. Interesting. Let's see what else is going on here. Talked about Tesla. Yeah, I saw this news too. Trump Media and Technology Group Corp. President Donald Trump's media company, Trump Media and Technology Group, said on Monday it's partnering with Crypto.com to launch exchange traded funds and products through its Truth.fi brand. Shares of the company, which operates social media platform True Social, rose 10.5% after the bell on Monday, but have fallen 38% in the last 3 months. The ETFs, which will be available through Crypto.com's broker dealers, Forest Capital, will include digital assets as well as securities with a Made in America focus. All right. Let's see. Looks like Lennar KBW cuts target price to 120 from 141. All right. Let's see if there's any news that I didn't talk about. Let's see. Go back to headlines here. So Tesla. All right. Let's see what else here. Cloudflare. Stock rose 6.1% after Bank of America upgraded the cybersecurity company to a buy from underperform, a move driven by the company's improving fundamentals and significant growth potential in AI and network security. Carvana, which has been on a tear, stock rose 5.5% after Morgan Stanley lifted its stance on the online used car retailer to overweight from equal weight, saying a sharp pullback in the share price offers a unique opportunity for investors to gain exposure to a leader in the auto retail and fleet fulfillment. Alrighty. Yeah, let's see if Juice got anything for us here. Any red? Oh yeah, I just talked about the tariffs, so we talked about that already. All right, I think we can move on to daily charts here. Let's move on. All right, let's look at these daily charts together. All right, so we had a big gap, huge, pretty much big gap, right? And what did we do? Opened right at last week's highs. We battled the 20-day simple moving average and the 200-day. We closed right above the 200-day moving average yesterday, right above it, right? We do have a trend line right here at around 577. So curious what happens with that trend. We could possibly hit that trend and then like kind of consolidate. We'll see. Where are we at now? 575.50. 575 puts us over the 100-day moving average even more. So we're about right here. Right, gapping up a little bit. Look at futures. All right, so in futures, 20-day simple moving average, you cross that. Now you got to see this 9 is lifting up, right? So that's yesterday's highs. You can see we're right there. We're right there. You can see just right here there is some supply, but we just need to get over this 58.43. Possibly could bring us to 59.02 eventually. Okay. Moving on to the Qs. So the Qs, right? Big range, right? And then yesterday, we opened here, pushed down, but then took off, right? Breaking out of last week's range, right? 20-day simple moving average closed above it. Now the 100-day, I'm sorry, 200-day moving average is 494.12, 494.12. We are not there yet in the Qs. Okay. This is last month's lows. That is 496.93. So 497 could be a destination. 497. Okay. Let's look at, oh, what are we at now? What did I say? 491.50. We're at 491.50. Yeah. Right at the highs of yesterday. I think I said that already. All right, let's look at the futures. Futures, you can see right at the highs of yesterday. Over the 20-day simple moving average. Last month's lows, that is 206.90. 206.90. Maybe we eventually get there. All right. Moving on to the dollar. I'm sorry. Moving on to the 10-year yield. We're going to do our triple headed monster here. And that's interesting. The yield is rising. Right? We're right at this supposed swing high here. Really, really breaks this. Now you're just broke the second dairy trend line here. And you're right here. It's really gonna mark a specific area that if this breaks, wow, that would be interesting because there's pretty not good structure here. You could definitely move right up to this trend line in the 50-day moving average. Very interesting what's going on right now with the yields. All right, dollar is getting tried to push up, taking out yesterday's lows. Right now, we have to see. Like I said, we're still in a range almost symmetrically over here, right? So not almost, it is basically. So that's what's going on there. Now our VIX, what a fall this VIX has had, all the way up here at 30, and just boom, we're down to 17.22, right at the 200-day moving average right now. So that's your VIX. That's your fear gauge. All right. I think we're going to move on now to the main event. That would be your market profile and your volume profile. Okay. We can see right now there's a slight gap up. And we will review yesterday. All right, let's review. Maybe take this down a little bit. All right. So let's look at yesterday. So, all right, give me a second here. I gotta kill this. Sorry about that. Let me kill this pen. I gotta reinitialize it because it was not agreeing with myself. So let's do it again. All right. Let's look at yesterday. So yesterday opened, pulled down, pulled back. That was all she wrote. There's last week's highs, held that, and then you just moseyed on up, and then pulled back to the week to day VWAP, came up here and closed right there. Okay. Now, what does the market need to do? Right now, the current most traded price of the week, 57.15, is right here. All right, price is right up here at 58.28. Obviously, that's bullish, right? So now, what the market needs to do is have value fall price. So you want this area, which is like 58.15, let's call it, needs to become the new most traded price of the week. Once the value can follow price, right, then you have the ability to move higher. All right, and now what if it can't? Then you return back to value. I don't really see that in the cards right now, just the way I would expect shorts to continue covering. If they're not all shaken out, they will be shaken out today if we move higher. Okay. So if we're gonna look at some levels today, we have demand here, right? Lines up with the overnight lows. We did a VWAP, right? And we have demand here based off that opening test drive in the markets yesterday. Okay. It's a little single print here. So all right. So let's look at some levels here. We have a big gap. That's that big gap, right? Then we have right here confluence low right here. Now what is that? What is that, right? That's our in this area. You have a little bit of demand. You have the overnight lows, right? Week to date VWAP, value area low from yesterday, which is 70% of the trading that happened yesterday. Okay, bulls just need to defend that. That's it. They just need to defend it. Okay. Now, what do we have from yesterday? Right? Yesterday, you have the most traded price was 58.15. So, not gonna lie, because we're gapping up, this area could definitely right here. And I know this is I control one big area, but I want to divvy it up a little bit. Okay. So this is bull territory to defend, right? I don't think um, that's much to ask for, right? Now we really don't have anything of significance. You could see the volume from the past here. Um, let's look at this. Let me just look at this with you guys. Let's go to a different chart. I just want to see what we're working with here. All right, so big high volume node right here at 58.20, right? Big one. If we move from here, remember we move from node to node. We do have a low volume node here at 58.53. That either gets ripped through or it will act as resistance. Now, where could we move next? Right there. 58.83. 58.83. That is the next high volume node. Okay. Now you could see the white is this year, so it could be 59.15 as well. So keep these on your radar because you could see there's a pocket in here. So we have to see. That's what I'm saying. I don't have a lot of levels there. Okay. I don't have much supply here. There's like not much for me to work with here. All right, as far as shorts. So we're pushing up. This is expected. Yesterday was a big shock with the gap, and we held it. And now, like I said, the rest of the shorts will puke today if we just continue to go higher. That's what's happening right now. Okay. All right. Let's do some scenarios here. Let's start with the bull case. They are in control. Okay. So, like I said, honestly, we'll get into shorts, but there's like, I wouldn't really be excited to short this market. So, we're pushing up, we're gapping up. So, first thing we talk about is gap rules. 58.25, 50 is your gap fill, right? It's a little baby gap right now, and we're pushing as I'm speaking, right? So, of course, number one is if we push up, that could be a buy point, right? And then you could possibly move up higher, right? And this is very simple today. Or we come into this area, more straighter price, and this tip of this demand and go up. Or door number three, you go into this. This is the last line of defense, I would think, and you can move higher. Okay. Even though we do have demand here, right? I think the higher quality setups are up here, right? So that is your longs. All right. If we go to shorts, all right. If we go to shorts, right, we're gonna gap up. So we're opening with a gap up. It's a little gap. Okay. What you want to see is if you push up, go through the open. Like I said, this is like not easy. I don't think this is an easy road for a short. Okay. What I would need to see is you push through all this. Try to take out these single prints and just kind of hold here and see if you could start trying to fill into this gap. There's a lot of work a short has to do, right, to get back. I don't know if that's in the cards for today. If they did, we would return back to value. All right, 57.15. But like I said, being honest, I don't really, I'm not excited about a short. I don't think a short is in the cards. Could it happen? It could happen, but we're pushing higher as I'm speaking, right? The whole market's turning around. Not that anything was super weak, but it's just, you know, it's moving. All right. That is your yes. Let's look at the Nasdaq. Let's see what the difference is here. Really no difference. We're gapping up, right? We're really moving here. We're pushing really nicely. So we got a gap up, gap fills 204.09 right there. Okay. We do have demand right here and the most traded price of yesterday right in here. And week to date VWAPs right there. Okay. And we do have right here another demand zone and another demand. I mean, it's just like that just tells me buyers are here, right? So in the Nasdaq, your overnight low 202.92 right here in these boxes, right? You got overnight low, value area low from yesterday, similar most traded price of yesterday. So it's all about really, like I said, in the Nasdaq. If you push up, oops, sorry. Let's just get into scenarios. There's no point into beating around the bush here. Let's just talk about scenarios here because I don't, it's really going to be about a pullback to go long. All right. So let's check it out. Number one, gap and go. Of course, you could do that. Number two, pull back, fill the gap, and then you can go higher. Now, up here is the most traded price of the year. Let's just call it 206, 207. Okay, up here. that will not get cut through very easily. Okay. Now, you could also pull back to here, anywhere in here, and then also take off. That's about all I would want to see. I mean, you could get a little bear trap to tip its toe in here and then possibly go higher. But below this area, can it work? Yeah, it can. I think if we do, we bounce and we balance off in here, trying to push up the most shredder price of the week up here. All right, that 203.50. All right, that is longs. Like I said, very similar, very easy. Now on the short side, okay. On the short side, of course, like I said, we could push up, come through the open. Like I said, I'm not interested until you break through that overnight lows and hold it in a single prints here. If you can hold, you have possibly to go back into last week's range into the gap. The gap starts right here, and then possibly see if you can touch the overnight lows of yesterday and try to fill that gap and go back. Like I said, this is highly unlikely because there's just so much that a seller has to do right now, right? And we're gapping up. Okay, pretty simple. Hope everybody understands those scenarios. Okay, I like when it's short and sweet and simple. Short and sweet and simple. Okay. Now, if you enjoyed that analysis, please give the thumbs up or a like. That'd be much appreciated. And as always, hopefully you join me every day, every morning. I give you the scoop on the markets, the lowdown, the story, news, economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards. And I just gave you long and short trade scenarios in the ES and the NASDAQ. Okay? Hopefully you guys join me every morning, setting that alert. Okay? So today it's all about that pullback to see if you can go long. Okay? Let's try to squeeze the last shorts. All right? Now everybody have a great day. Have a great day. No trade's a trade. Stay green. And I'll see everybody.